Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Burge. Some of you know me, some of you may not know me. Kind of just recording this to tell my story and help anyone that might need help, or just let my family and friends kind of know a little bit about my 43 years of being on this earth. um, so some of you who do know me, a little bit about my story. Maybe some of you have no clue. I've shared little bits of it on social media over the years, but not everyone sees that. So I just hit 12 years of sobriety from alcohol. I believe it was yesterday. I had checked myself into a rehab facility here in Las Vegas. Um, so really, I just been wanting to share my story with more people. I do talk to people in person that I meet and kind of give them a little bit of background and tell them my story. But I've kind of been wanting to tell more of the world, more people, because I don't see everyone all the time, and really just want to get it out. I've thought about writing a book, but I'm not really a writer. I'm a really busy guy, so it's just hard to sit down and do all that. And I just did a post yesterday on Facebook with a little brief explanation of what went on, and I've had a lot of people respond. I've actually had a couple people reach out to me who have family members going through stuff, and even they themselves are struggling. Um, Sorry. I just, whew, I've known a lot of people throughout my life that that I found out, are struggling with similar issues, or just they've gone through similar stuff, whether it's alcohol or pills or um, other substances. I've actually I've had a lot of people pass away from their addictions, and it's sad. It's really, really sad. And I'm not trying to get all emotional right in the beginning here. I don't have a script or anything. I just wanted to tell my story because there's so many people struggling out there, whether they know it or not. Like you might not even know it yet, but you might have stuff in the back of your head that kind of makes you wonder, and you may be dealing with your issues by drinking or taking pills, or you know other things to deal with whatever it is you're dealing with. And I keep finding out more and more people are struggling. Especially the world's just getting harder, and I think people just try to find ways out and ways to manage and deal with stuff and all that, and it's just sad. Or in my case, it was all for fun, and the fun just progressed until it was no longer fun, and it became a routine, just something I had to do to be okay, I guess. um, so anyway, I'm gonna kind of just start from the beginning. um, you can watch the whole thing or you can leave now, but I'm gonna get into some details. This might be a long video, so appreciate it if you stick with me and enjoy the ride and listen to my journey. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. I'll try not to lose it too much throughout, but it's gonna happen. I'm vulnerable. I'm emotional. I'm a Pisces. I feel shit. I cry, and that's okay. And if you're a guy, a girl, whatever, them, it's okay to cry. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to let that out in front of people, and that's actually part of this process, which I'm gonna get into. But anyway, so I am 43. I just turned 43 in February. Just actually surprised I made it to 43. I'm actually very grateful that I'm here. So anyway, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. I think I was maybe about a year, and we had moved away to South Carolina. I think we lived there for a short period of time with some family, and then I moved to North Carolina, then to Virginia, then to Tennessee, and then to Michigan, I believe, where I went to middle school and high school and graduated there. And then about a year after that, I had moved to Las Vegas. So backtracking to my youth, when I was young, I was a curious kid. I just liked to test things and get into stuff and get into trouble and defy authority and all that. I was my own person. I wanted to do me. I wanted to do what Brian wanted to do, and some of that was getting into trouble and just getting into mischief. So yeah, at a young age, I was kind of destructive. I like to just, I don't know, go to construction sites and dump paint buckets and break things, and I was just a wild kid. I used to run around in the woods by myself and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, some of it was bad, but I had a lot of fun. um, so yeah, I guess just at a young age, I just kind of was that person, just kind of doing my own thing. I wouldn't say I was pretty well supervised. I had good parents and all that, but I was out doing things. And I think eventually that led to, as I got a little older into my teen years, I got curious and started experimenting with other stuff. Um, you know, um, I think obviously the first thing I had tried was alcohol. I was terrified of even like marijuana or anything. Drugs scared the crap out of me. Um, but again, this is unscripted, so I might kind of jump around as things come to my mind. But back to like all the places I lived, real quick, I was a really shy kid, so moving all the time was really hard for me. It would take me a while to make friends and kind of open up to people, and it's like by the time I would find a group of friends, we would move. And then I'd get upset and we'd start all over again, and just the process just cycled every time we moved. And that was hard for me. And I think because of that, when I discovered alcohol for the first time, which, trying to think back, it was either, I want to say it was my 8th grade dance. We used to have this little spot in the woods by the middle school, and that's where we would go and kind of get into trouble. Me and some of our friends. So I think we had, I'm not going to call people out or name names, but someone's older brother, I think, got us some like Zimas at the time. And we went to the woods and we got a little tipsy and went to the 8th grade dance and had fun and started a mosh pit and all this stuff. And I think we had went out. I had started smoking cigarettes around that age. Actually, that was the first thing I experimented with, was cigarettes. And I got a buzz from the nicotine, and that's kind of when, I was like, ooh, this feels kind of nice. This is fun. So it actually started with cigarettes, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, we were at the dance and we left and went to the woods, I think to drink a little more and smoke a cigarette. And some of the chaperones had seen us coming back and we got into trouble and all that. So I think that was my first time. And, being a shy kid, I realized, like, whoa, I am not shy when I have alcohol. So I think just from that day forward, I fell in love with alcohol, I guess I could say. I fell in love with the fact that I could not be so afraid and so shy. Um, so obviously at 13 you can't get that stuff all the time or whatever. So it's not like I did it that often, but then I remember at my sister's 16th birthday, my cousins, not blaming you guys, but my cousins were sneaking me alcohol at the party, and I got on the dance floor and started dancing and just doing things I never would do sober. And it felt good. It felt good to come out of my shell and just not care and just be me, I guess. So I think from there it just became a thing. I felt better on it. I felt more alive. I felt more open. I felt more social. Um, and so obviously, it just, if I could do it, I wanted to do it. And especially if I went to like a party or was around people. And I did grow up in a small town in Michigan, called Okemos, Michigan. Great little town. I'm not, knocking it. I'm not trying to scare people from maybe moving there, and drugs and alcohol exist everywhere. I don't care where you live. You could be in the ritziest part of Hollywood, and it's actually worse in some of those places. So it really doesn't matter where you live. There's drugs and alcohol everywhere. People are exposed to it all the time, and it's gotten even worse. So I'm not blaming the town by any means, but man, for like such a small town with kind of I would say like a richer population or a wealthier population, we got into some stuff. We partied a lot. I don't even know. It's crazy to think back, like at 13, how people had access to drugs and alcohol and just all this stuff. But as high school and middle school progressed, there was more parties. I met more people. We were able to get things easier, all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm probably just dragging this out too long. But anyway, I spent a lot of high school just drinking a lot, partying a lot, even just like not even. It didn't even have to be a big party, but if I could stock up on booze, I would like keep 40s in my dresser under my clothes. And if like a girl came over or something, I would want to like drink before they got there so I could like not be so shy. And yeah, I don't know, it was just this thing that I just felt the need to do as much as I could. And then one of my good friends, we were able to go to his house a lot on the weekends, and we were supervised, but we could drink, but we had to stay there. So obviously we had this safe space to go do our thing, which made it more of a routine, every weekend. Oh, let's go to so-and-so's house. There's no parties going on, but we can go there and hang out. So that was almost a weekend, every weekend, I was drinking. And that eventually, led to experimenting with other stuff, like marijuana. I was never a big weed smoker. It affects me different than some people. I don't function on it. I get super brain dead. I get tired. I get paranoid. So I never really was big on that. It made me more like less social. So I just wasn't a huge like pot person. I had plenty of friends that could function on it, and kind of go about their day. I just couldn't. And then think the next thing I might have, experimented with pain pills a little bit, which never was my thing either. They kind of always made me nauseous, so I never liked them. Um, thank God, because I know a lot of people that have become addicted to pain pills and have OD'd or died or moved on to heroin, all that stuff from pain pills. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't get deep into those. I did experiment. I don't remember what grade I was in, but it was New Year's Eve, and an old friend of mine had moved away. He came back from where he was living for a while and introduced me and a couple friends to acid. So we actually experimented with that at a pretty young age. It was New Year's Eve, the ball was dropping, and we were standing there by my parents. And yes, I'm opening up. I'm going to tell you guys some stuff that is probably going to shock you. So you can judge all you want, to be honest. That's what people do. If you don't judge, cool. So whatever. I'm just going to tell you things, and you could do what you want with it. But yeah, we were standing there with my parents and I think a couple of their friends, and we had hit acid on our tongues while we were watching the ball drop. So yeah, that was kind of my first experience with acid. That might have been around like 9th or 10th grade, probably 10th grade, I'm guessing, maybe 11th. That kind of was a whole new experience for me, not something I wanted to do a lot or often, but I did. I don't know, I probably have, sorry, I'm shaking my leg here. Probably maybe done acid, I don't know, maybe 20 times at least. And here's the thing, like, I'm sober from alcohol. That was my issue. There are things, and I'm not condoning this, I'm not saying anyone should do it. There are some things out there, though, and now that more science and research is being done, there are some forms of what people might want to call a drug that are actually beneficial for people with mental issues, depression, PTSD, certain things like that. And one of those is acid. There's mushrooms. There's ketamine treatments that I've learned about recently. Some places it's legal to do like ayahuasca trips and go into these deep visions and all this stuff to deal with things. So I might talk about some of these things, and I'm not saying like, oh, it's okay to do, but there are some benefits to certain people with these things, and things like mushrooms and some of that stuff. There's actually, you really can't become addicted to them, and I'm actually have read recently that you've actually been using psilocybin to treat people with addiction, and have had great success with that. But anyway, I experiment with that a lot. Then I went back and forth between that and mushrooms. I actually grew mushrooms one time. And to be honest, that stuff kind of opened my mind up to, I don't even want to call it a whole new world, but it definitely opened my mind up. I honestly feel like I'm a better person because of some of those experiences I've had and things that I felt. I feel more connected to the universe in a weird way. Again, I'm not recommending people go out and do it, but I don't regret doing those things whatsoever. It was just it was the alcohol was my issue, and the fact that I really needed it, and I just felt more open on it. So me as that shy person, I just loved it. I loved just coming out of myself and all that. But I always tell people when you drink enough and you're intoxicated enough, sometimes you make dumb decisions. Like most of the time that I ever experimented with some other kind of substance was after I had been drinking. Because I'm sure most of you know who have drank enough at some point, you kind of lose your inhibitions and you make maybe not the best decisions. You don't really think things through as well. So most of the time I had done other things. I had already been drinking. I never was really like sober and been like, hey, I want to like do this drug or whatever. Or sometimes you're out at a party drinking and someone, pulls out a bag of cocaine or something, and then you're kind of like, oh, I'll do some. So yes, I've experimented with tons of stuff. I never though was like an avid user of other things. I had done things multiple times, but I was never like this regular. Oh my God, I need this or want to do this all the time. It was just kind of the occasional thing. So anyway, that was kind of my experience as a teen, which, God, looking back, like I have teenage kids now, and to look at them and be like, oh my God, I was doing those things at their age, like, is absolutely insane to me. Um, and it's so weird to think back that I was doing that stuff at their age. It's mind blowing to me. And the fact that we could even get stuff at that age, it was nuts. I mean, I remember one time we were in the ghetto of Lansing at a coke dealer's house. Some older black gentleman, like, we were these little white kids from a rich town, and here we are, like, going to this house to get drugs and stuff. Like, we were putting ourselves at risk and didn't even think twice about it. So yeah, I have a million stories to tell, and again, I don't want to fully drag this out. I just feel like some of my stories and my history will resonate with people, and that's why I want to give more detail. And some of you watching this maybe have never touched anything in your life, so you can't even like fathom what I'm saying. But for those of you out there that have and are still struggling, I want to get this out so you can kind of see the build up over the years, not just, oh, all of a sudden I had an issue. It's like, no, like, I was mischievous. I liked to party. I liked to have fun. I felt more confident around girls, and it was easier to talk to people. And it just became a thing. And when you're young, you don't think, oh, like, this is going to be an issue later in life, because you just don't think that way when you're young. So anyway, I had a great, childhood. I had parents that were married, that loved me. We were fairly well off. We weren't rich by any means, but we were fine. Like, I think some people think, oh, only these certain types of people do these things. It's like, you can come from the wealthiest, most loving family in the world and still end up having issues. You can end up having addiction problems. It doesn't matter, where you grow up. My parents loved me. They taught me everything they possibly could. So I don't ever like blame them. Like, yeah, they worked a lot. They weren't, they were around. My mom, was always there. She worked hard. She cooked dinner every night. She, tucked me in or whatever, rubbed my back at night. We always watched family sitcoms together at night, sitting by the fireplace. We did family vacations. My dad was great. We had our differences, but looking back, now that I'm a father and I'm mature, I look back at all the things I didn't like about my dad, and I'm actually grateful he was that way now that I'm older, just as far as how strict he was, and the chores and the discipline and all that. But he was a great dad. I was never abused or anything like that. So there's really no like underlying issues as to why I did the things I did. I wasn't acting out. I wasn't trying to get attention. I had all that. I literally just had fun, and it was like it was my personality to go out and experiment and do things and get in trouble. And you know, what happens if I do this? I had the cops call me at a young age for breaking windows and just all this stuff. And actually, speaking of cops, I ended up getting a DUI when I was 17. Um, Not necessarily because I was like driving around the roads like this. We had been waiting outside of a girl's house. We had already been at another party, I think, but it had closed down. So, yes, we had already been drinking, which I shouldn't have been driving, obviously, but we were waiting outside. And then these people down the road, we thought we knew them. And I think I had like flashed my lights at them. Come to find out, they were some older people. I don't even know how old they were, but they kind of then pulled up their car in front of us, and then I kind of panicked and drove around them, and then they started chasing us through the neighborhood. And then apparently either them or someone else called the cops on us, and as we were leaving to try to go home, the cop had been coming into the neighborhood and pulled me over, and I got my first and only DUI when I was 17. Surprisingly, that did not stop me from drinking, even though I went to like alcohol classes and things like that. So yeah, I went through that at a young age. I did graduate. I did pretty good in school. I wasn't like top student by any means or anything like that. I struggled a lot. I've actually recently kind of self-diagnosed based on a lot of research and tests that I've done online that I am dyslexic and possibly have some like mild ADHD. So certain subjects I just didn't do well in, like English and all that. So I did what I could to do the best I could in school, but I obviously outside of school was more interested in partying and hanging out and skateboarding and all that stuff. So I did well. I think I graduated with like a 3.2 or something like that. I had no clue what I wanted to do in my life. I had a lot of friends that were going to go off to college. They kind of had a direction. And here I was just party. Don't know what I want to do. Keep partying. I'll figure it out one day. Until then, I'm just going to have fun kind of mentality. I did want to be an architect at one point. Then I kind of saw how much school was involved and all the math, and decided that wasn't for me. I think I went to community college in Lansing. I think I showed up to one class, and of course it was an English class, which is what I struggled with, and decided that wasn't for me, so I stopped going. I'm already 28 minutes in. Sorry. Hopefully you guys maybe just play it on 2 times speed or skip along. But I did after high school. I was working at my dad's friend's business in Okemos, just as a kind of a cook and a cashier and all that. It's kind of interesting because the owner, I think, one day had made a comment because we came and hung over all the time. And I think the owner's wife had made a comment one time about like how it's kind of a statistic that like a lot of cooks become alcoholics or something like that. I think it's because she knew we were coming in hungover all the time and was a little concerned. So it's kind of interesting looking back at that. I think I actually even wrote her and told her, "Hey, you were right. I became one." But anyway, I was working that. I ended up meeting a girl. I'm not gonna say names. It was kind of a different type of relationship. It sort of split me and my friend group apart, which was really tough on me around that time. Things were good with me and her, and then I don't know, it just got kind of weird. And again, this might be where someone's gonna judge me, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but I was, I believe, 18 at the time. But um, my parents were planning on moving out to Las Vegas, and me and this girl were gonna move out there together. And I don't remember exactly kind of the time frame or whatever, but she did end up being pregnant. I'm not naming names. I want to keep people's privacy. And I don't know. I think things just got weird with us, and we decided to not have the baby. Um, Still to this day, not exactly sure if it was mine, but I think it was. So that had happened, and then kind of me and her didn't end up working out, which is okay. I ended up trying to see my group of friends one last time before moving to Las Vegas, and that was kind of bad. If you guys are watching, you know what happened. We were having a little fun, and then it just kind of got ugly, and I don't remember what was exchanged, but I ended up punching one of my friends in the face, and then I got mad at my other friends because they weren't really like backing me up and all that. So I left Michigan kind of on a really bad note with my friends and people I grew up with and did a lot with. So that was tough. So when I got to Vegas, it was just kind of weird. Like I didn't know anyone. All my friendships were kind of gone from Michigan. A lot of other people had went off to college. I didn't really stay in touch with anyone. So I moved out here. I didn't know a single soul. And I just started working and meeting people, and that can go into this whole other world of stories. Maybe I need to write a series of books. I don't know. But throughout my time frame in Vegas, I believe I moved out here in like 2001. A lot of just different jobs, trying to get my my grounds out here, meet people. I would take jobs, whatever I could get at the time, just to like survive. I stayed with my parents when I first moved here, but they kind of wanted me like to get out and get going. Which actually, yeah, I could backtrack to some of my living situations. I actually, when I first moved out of my house from high school, I lived in a one-bedroom apartment in a walk-in closet for about 6 months. And that was kind of chaotic. But anyway, yeah, sorry. I have all these crazy little side stories that, I don't know, I just like to tell people so they can just understand kind of the stuff I had been through and where I've gotten today, to give those people hope who might be in similar situations. So I did a lot of odd jobs, met a lot of different people. Then I like had rented a room from these guys who kind of found out didn't really work. One of the kids' moms like got some settlement from a slip and fall, so he just kind of like did his own thing and sold weed on the side. The other guy, I still to this day don't think I know his real story, but through that era, I was kind of exposed to a lot of different people. And I was actually working as a lift operator at the time up at the little local ski hill here, Lee Canyon. So I met a lot of people through there, and we, would have a lot of parties and hangouts with people. And then I was just introduced to some other stuff out here. It's kind of an interesting group of people. Like I don't know how I really fell in with them, but I just did. And then because I was living with them, I kind of got just trapped in their world for a while. Experimented with this. This is tough for me to say, especially for people that know me. But it's part of my story, so I'm gonna say it. It's actually probably the most like embarrassing like part of my life, to be honest, because I completely lost touch of who who I was. And I knew nothing about crystal meth. I knew nothing about it. Like, people talk about speed back in Michigan, which I think is different, but apparently, like, meth is a thing out here. I don't know how bad it is anymore, but it definitely was a thing here. And some of the people that started kind of hanging out with us, I guess they were doing it and I never knew it. They were kind of like doing it behind closed doors or whatever. And one day we had gone to one of the girls' houses when we were in her bedroom just hanging out, and they ended up pulling it out, like the glass pipe in front of me or whatever. And I was I was terrified of like crack and heroin and all those like super hardcore drugs. Um, so to me, this is kind of embarrassing, and I don't understand where my head was at the time, but I ended up trying it. Again, that was me. Like, oh, let me experiment. Let me just give it a try. Like, if I don't like it, oh well. But I just was curious and tried it that day with them. And then I don't know. I don't think there was a slight part of me that liked it, but overall it was disgusting. Like, I did not like it. I did not like not being able to sleep or anything. It just was a really weird feeling. I don't even know how to describe it, but I think because I had done it with them that one time, they then started like doing it around me a lot. And it's kind of one of those people that's like, well, I don't have work today or I'm not working tomorrow. Like, I'll just have a little bit. Problem with that stuff is you don't just have a little bit. You have some, but then like you can't sleep or whatever. So then you're like, well, I just might as well have some more so I'm not coming down and feeling so crappy. And then before you know it, you're up and it's the next day, and then you're just starting to feel really weird, and weird stuff is going through your head, and you start seeing shadow people after a couple days. And I don't know, I don't know why I did it and why I kept doing it. And then this guy I moved in with, he couldn't even function without it. He would literally sleep for days if he didn't have it, and then if he had it, he was super high functioning. And so it was always around me. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then I would give in and do it. I think that went on for about 8 months. It was a struggle. Like, I was calling out of work a lot because I wasn't sleeping. I think I lost, I don't even know, maybe like 10 pounds. Started kind of like breaking out on my face. And I was starting to get really concerned. I'm like, what? I just kind of looked at myself. I'm like, what the F are you doing, Brian? Like, this is not you. And I'm not judging people, but I'm like, this isn't you. This isn't who you are. This isn't the type of people you associate with. Like, why are you falling into this? Why are you still sticking around? And I kind of just like snapped out of it. I'm like, I have to get out of here. I had a lease on this apartment with this guy, but I was like, I have to leave. I don't give a shit about my credit right now or what happens to my roommate and his credit. I'm like, I need to not die and become this tweaker who ends up on the street or something. So I like just had to just cold turkey stop and move out and get away from all those people that were associated with it. And oh my God, I'm so thankful I did. I don't know what happened to a lot of those people. I did. My one roommate that was super hardcore into it, I did run into him a few years ago, and I kind of told him about my story and getting sober, and he actually was able to get off of it. So I was super grateful to see that he was doing better and it didn't, take him to a bad place. I'm not sure about all the other people. I've lost touch with them, but anyway, that's so embarrassing to me. I mean, I don't telling people I did coke or mushrooms or acid. I'm not embarrassed by that by any means, but the the meth was just so far out there from anything I would have ever done or the type of people I would have hung around. So that was a really strange time in my life. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm sharing it more to help people. If again, if you guys want to judge me on it, I don't care because I'm telling this to help people. So I was able to get off of that. So it's kind of these little stories lead up to things, and it's also these little wins along the way because things could have gotten worse for me. So, and that's the thing. You might they always say like, oh, weed's a gateway drug or whatever, which in a sense it is. So is alcohol. I don't know why they just say marijuana is. Um, and alcohol is illegal, or it's been legal for a long time, but as far as I know, it destroys more lives than any other substance. I don't know. Well, now there's like, I don't even know if I could say this because I'm putting this on YouTube, but like fentanyl and all that stuff now is killing even more people. But alcohol's just because it's legal and people can go out and drink and have fun on it. It's bad for a lot of people. I don't even know the statistics, but it ruins so many lives. It kills people, um, just from health issues, from drunk driving accidents, all that stuff. So I'm fortunate I was able to get off of that because that could have gotten really ugly. And I think at the time I was only like 22, so I was young and that could have ruined my life big time. I see a lot of people in Vegas that you could kind of tell they're homeless people, and you could kind of tell that that's probably what got them there, and that's their drug of choice. It's really sad to see. My heart goes out to homeless people, to people who are struggling with addiction and all that. It's every time. Every time I see someone like that, my heart just hurts for them. So it's tough. But anyway, I got out of that. I kind of like changed my life. Just got a different job, found new people. I was still drinking, obviously, the whole time. And then I turned 21. Yeah, see I don't know, the timeline on this is kind of off, but then obviously being in Vegas, there's nightclubs out here, and it's a 24-hour town, so you could drink whenever you want, party whenever you want. So I got kind of into that whole scene. Um, and just to backtrack a little bit, I pretty much like worked in restaurants most of my life. I didn't really know, again, what I wanted to do, and that pays good money working in restaurants. So, I was able to make really good money and survive, but I also had money to go out and party, and not talking down on the service industry, but a lot, at least, half that industry, a lot of those people, they're kind of on the same boat. They like to go out and drink and go to the bar after work. You have cash in hand from tips. Um, so it's kind of a thing. You all get done with your shift at 9, 10 at night, and out here the bars are open, so you go to a bar. Or you go to a bar and then it's 2 in the morning, and then you're like, oh, strip club sounds fun. Let's go to the strip club. And then before you know it, it's 5 in the morning. And it's never ending. I mean, Vegas is a great city. I'm not talking bad, but like if you struggle and stuff, it's a tough city because there's a lot to do, a lot of things to go out and do. You're exposed to a lot of people, a lot of drugs, a lot of parties, a lot of women. There's just so much going on. That there's always opportunity to go out and do these things. So it's hard to be like, it's not like you're in this small town where it's like, oh, there's nothing going on tonight, whatever, I'll just stay home. There's always something to do and people wanting to go do stuff. So then you have family and friends that come to town and you want to take them out and all this stuff. But anyway, So that was kind of my routine, just work, drink, work, drink, work, drink, blah, blah, blah. Then I met, I'm skipping a lot of stuff just to kind of try to keep this cut down. It's already 45 minutes. Um, so I used to go to the strip club a lot with a couple guys. That was kind of our thing, just to go relax and just, I don't know, we liked eye candy, I guess. Um, One night I had walked in. We used to go to this place here called Cheetahs. It was kind of our spot. I walked in one night and this girl kind of walked past me as I was walking in. She really caught my eye. Um, and I don't know, later that night, my friend, he was talking to this girl, and the girl that I had seen when I walked in came to talk to the other girl. And I was like, because I hadn't seen her all night, and I'm like, oh, there she is. And I kind of like grabbed her hand a little bit and kind of introduced myself. And her friend was hanging out with my friend, so then she kind of sat with me, and we just started kind of talking and all that. And then we kind of hit it off, and I think we probably exchanged numbers that night, or I had come back another night and we exchanged numbers. And then we just started hanging out and kind of nothing serious, but we'd hang out here and there, or I'd come see her at work. God, there's so much. Anyway, we ended up getting into a more serious relationship. She had a 2.5-year-old son at the time. Until we got a little more serious, she didn't really bring him around me. But then once we got serious, he came around more often. His dad at the time was not in the picture, and I only had heard a few stories from my ex about him. And I guess he had some like mental issues and was doing PCP or something crazy and tried to like burn their house down within a minute or something. So I don't know, I think moved back to Missouri or something where his family was. So he wasn't really around. Um, so Ethan didn't really have like a father figure in a sense. So I kind of stepped in as that role, and obviously I kind of fell in love with his mom. So it's for me, I was like, well, this is her son. Like I can love him too. I can help take care of him. We moved in together, all that stuff. Why I got involved with her, I don't know. There were so many red flags right off the bat. Like she did show up really high on like pills a couple times. Her living situation and her history was kind of red flag-ish. But I was young. I partied a lot. I did drugs. I did things. So I'm like, how can I judge her? Like I'm probably better in a sense. So I don't know. We stuck together. It was, I don't want to say it was great. It was good in many ways for a couple years, and there was a lot of hard stuff because of the industry she was in, and then she actually moved into like working as a bartender and a cocktail waitress at one of the hotels here. She was a very beautiful girl, so and I was kind of the jealous type back then and insecure. So I struggled with her and men a lot, and she was always getting hit on, and I'd literally be standing right with her, and guys didn't care, and they would say things to her, and I'd want to fight people, and it was hard. But she fast forward a little bit, so she was still kind of doing the dancing thing for a while. And then we found out she was pregnant with my son. And then we kind of discussed like, hey, thing is, we were young, she was making good money. So it was hard for her to just quit. So we're like, okay, you could keep doing this for like the first 3 months because we need to save up some money. But then, you got to stop dancing. Like you're carrying my son. That's just weird. Not that it was ultimately up to me, but we agreed on that. She quit. And that's when she kind of moved into the whole nightclub, or not nightclub, but the casino thing. Um, so she had our son together. So he, I was 24 when we had him. So now, I was 24. I think she was 23. We have two boys now. We're young. We don't know what the heck we're doing with our lives. We're kind of working these BS jobs just to survive. And then I don't know, things got weird. I was drinking a lot. She was popping pills like crazy there. Towards the end, she was popping 10 plus pills a day and couldn't even remember how many she would take. Pretty sure she cheated on me quite a bit throughout the relationship. I don't know for a fact, but I know at the end she was messing around with this guy, and then a whole other thing came up, which it's a little weird, and I'm not going to go into the exact details just because it is weird, and not that I'm trying to protect them, but it's just weird. But she got involved with, well, I'll just say it kind of in a sense. She got involved with someone she was related to, and got pregnant. And I had figured there was something going on with the two of them for a minute. This was after we had split up, by the way, not while I was with her. I called her out on it. She denied it, all this stuff. So anyway, let me backtrack a little bit. So we were together 5.5 years. Probably the last 2+ years was just horrible. I don't know why we stayed together, but we did. She had what I feel is not the best upbringing. Her parents were divorced. I think her dad was very abusive. If you're watching this, ex's dad, feel free to contact me and get mad at me. I don't know everything. I just have heard little things here and there, but I just think she wasn't brought up all that well. She might have been verbally abused, sexually abused. I don't know for a fact, but anyway, I was trying to kind of show her this better life because I had grown up, at least. Not saying my life was better. That's just my perception, I guess. But I was trying to show her this different way of living and way of life, and she just didn't want it. She wanted the craziness and the chaos and the arguing and the fighting and it's like if things were going too smooth and nice, she would stir something up to try to get us to like get into it and fight. And she just like, it's almost like she was addicted to like fighting and arguing and all this stuff. It became nothing but that. We just fought all the time. So anyway, I mean, I'm glad I stuck it out as long as I did, because while me and her didn't do good for half the relationship, I grew a bond with her son. If I had left 2 years into it, I probably wouldn't have grown so attached to him to where I wanted to raise him, which I guess I'll get into that now. So 5.5 years went by. I ended up going out of town for a month and staying with my friends in LA for a while. All I did was drink for 30 days straight. I was just so over life and the relationship and everything. I just needed to get away. Came back. We went our separate ways. I'd been raising her son for 5.5 years. My son, I did not want to split him and his brother up. And his dad had OD'd years ago, so he had no father figure in his life. So I decided I'm not splitting them up, and this kid needs me. He needs a dad. So we agreed we'll do 50-50 split. So I had them half the week, she had them half the week. That went on for a couple years. That was chaos because I tried to have order and structure with my kids, teach them discipline, all this stuff, routine. Um, but her life was a complete mess, and so they had some form of normal, normalcy, however you say that, with me. But then when they're with their mom, it was just straight chaos, in and out of stuff, not going to school, eating like crap, um, sleeping in piles of dirty clothes. She was having sex with people like while they were sleeping on the floor in the room. It was terrible. It was just really bad. I knew a little bit that was going on, but not to that extreme. Otherwise, I would have tried to step in probably sooner and done something. But again, I still had my own issues in a sense with drinking and wanting to party, so I was kind of like not taking it so serious, because I still liked having my time without them to do my own thing. Um, anyway, sorry, there's a lot of talking. I almost feel like I need to make a short version of this, but I'll keep going. So anyway, we split up. I was raising them. She got into this relationship with a family member. She got pregnant. During this time, she was also seeing another guy at the same time, and he knew about the relative and all this stuff. It was very weird. And this is where my drinking got pretty bad. God, there's so many different things that happened. I'm kind of missing some of the stuff. So I actually had lost my. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So I had lost my dad. I think. I feel terrible, but I'm bad with numbers and dates and like memory with that stuff. But I think it was like 13 or 14 years ago, I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer. So that really, really affected me. It was really hard for me to see him once he actually started like looking sickly. And obviously my lifestyle, I work graveyard shift in nightclubs out here, which I didn't really get into that either, but I got into the nightclub industry, so that took my drinking and partying to a whole nother level. Sorry, all the time frames are getting mixed up now because I'm kind of jumping around. So yeah, I was in nightclubs for a while, drinking a lot. This was after I had left my ex. Kind of just started all over again. Was doing the whole single dad thing. Wasn't really dating for a while. Started dating again, off and on. So years went by. My dad passed away. We still have split custody at this point. After my dad died, so it was really hard to watch him. So I feel really bad to this day because I wasn't there a lot, helping out with like his chemo treatments or helping my mom. It was too hard for me to go over there and see him. So it's kind of the whole out of sight, out of mind. Plus working graveyard shift, my hours were kind of weird, so it was harder to help and see them. But I also was trying to avoid it to a certain extent because it was just hard for me to see. He battled that for, I believe, like 3.5 years and eventually passed. After that, I don't know, I got in this weird state of mind where I was like, F it, like, life is short, like, I could die anytime. This is stupid. I'm just gonna, like, live my life and have as much fun as I can because I don't know when I'm gonna go. And for some reason, me thinking that way, I started drinking more. I started partying more. I started like doing more. And then it just, I don't know, it progressed even more and more from that. not like blaming his death by any means, but it definitely like put me into this whole different place in my head. So yeah, that just went on for years. I mean, I was living a hangover for, I mean, most of my life, to be honest. But when it got to a point where I was in my nightclub days, I was like 7 days a week drinking every day. I'm not talking like a couple beers. Like I would have um, probably at least a half a bottle a day, plus like anywhere from 3 to 10 beers. It really depended on the situation, how long I was drinking, all that. But it was a 7 day thing. And working graveyard, we don't drink like at night like most people do. So we'd get off at 4 in the morning, and there's bars right near our houses. So we knew bartenders. So we'd go to the bars after work at 4 or 5 in the morning. We'd have $200 cash in our pockets from our tip out that night, and you know, I'd throw 20, $40 in the machine, and the bartenders would comp us our drinks, so I could easily have 10 to 15 shots and not have to pay for them. So it was like, it's like, oh, I can have as much as I want. I don't have to pay for this. So that didn't help, because then I would drink more because I wasn't paying for the stuff. So if we weren't out at like a club, we were usually at a bar or just maybe some little house party things, playing beer pong or whatever. But it was constant, and I drank alone a lot too. If nothing was going on, I'd either maybe have a friend or two over, we'd barbecue and just get messed up, for no reason, just for fun. Um, so yeah, it was just constant, and then I was hungover all the time. So, and I literally every night I'm like, I'm not gonna drink after work. I'm not gonna drink after work. But by the time I got off of work, I felt better, and I'm like, I'll just have a couple. And no, when you're like a true addict or whatever, like they say one's not enough. Like someone who doesn't really have a problem can have like one drink and be done. But like a true addict, from what I've been told and what I kind of know about myself, is you can't just have one. You want to get messed up. You're not just drinking to taste it or whatever. You're drinking to get messed up. So I was always messed up. I was hammered. What's crazy is like I could drink a lot but still be functional. I wasn't throwing up. I wasn't like, I knew what I was doing. I remembered, for the most part, I remembered the night. I had a few blackout occasions, but yeah, I was pretty, like, I could drink and drink and drink and drink, um, which I'm not bragging about, but like it just, I guess, made it even easier for me to drink a lot more because I could. Um, anyway, I don't know. I just chased that for years, just kept doing it, doing it, doing it. And then kind of back to the whole ex thing, after a few years. So she ended up getting pregnant, and then um, what happened, and this is what's weird, and this is kind of like, this is really the crazy part of this whole story is, so yeah, I was getting bad. Like I was just pounding alcohol like you wouldn't believe. At that point, it was getting expensive, so I was buying just a big half gallons of like Smirnoff vodka or whatever, and I would just take shot after shot after shot. I had trouble sleeping, so I was taking like Xanax sometimes to sleep, or I needed like enough shots of me to where I could pass out and fall asleep. So it was just bad, bad, bad. I started getting really sick. I was throwing up more than ever, which I never really did throw up, but for some reason my body was just starting to reject all this liquor I was putting in it. I was starting to feel different physically. I actually broke out in shingles one time because I think I was just getting so stressed and like depressed and all this stuff that, you know, my body was just starting to shut down on me and all that. And yeah, out of just kind of one day I woke up and it was just different. Like I could not function. I was like, had super bad anxiety. I was like, didn't want to be around anyone. I just felt horrible. Like I just wanted to lay on the couch and like curl up in a ball, which I had been doing for a while. I was would just lay there and play, I think, Angry Birds at the time because I couldn't do anything else. And I was calling out of work a lot. I tried to go into work, I think, one time, and I like lost it when I was in there and had to have someone drive me home because I just couldn't function and be around anyone. And then I started noticing like I was trying not to drink because I felt so bad, but then I was like, I started realizing I need to drink, like, so I could feel better. So I would literally like have to take, I think it was like 6 to 8 shots, almost like back to back, to get like a bunch of alcohol in me, and then I would kind of start to feel more leveled out and normal. I still by no means would have went to work and function, but it at least was making me feel like somewhat okay, physically. Mentally, I was now starting to get very worried. And I just was like, oh my God, this is not ending. Like weeks were going by. And so I finally then, I had told my mom about it. So I started going to her doctor a little bit and kind of was telling him what was going on. He did some, tests on me. My liver was getting really bad. And he basically was like, dude, your body's going through withdrawals. Like you are at the point now where your body needs alcohol to function. So his plan was to let's try to wean you down. Like, don't just quit because that could, end up bad. You could have, worse things could happen if you just stop cold turkey. So he's like, let's try to, if you're taking 10 shots right now, go home, do your 10, and then maybe tomorrow try 9, and then, try to slowly wean down. But I felt so horrible for those couple weeks that I couldn't do it. I just was like, I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the strength. I couldn't deal with the physical pain. So that's when I decided. I basically told my mom, look, this isn't working. I need help. And I literally I had to ask for help because that was the only option. I was at the point where I was capable enough to tell myself I can't do this on my own, and I need help, and I want help. I want help. And that's where I'll get into this. I don't think I could pause this video. No. So yeah, I wanted help. I needed help. I didn't want to die. I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit, but so I asked for help. My brother, sister, they stepped in. I think the three of them together, whatever, they found some places. One place they found that really stood out to me. It was called Solutions Recovery. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore. I think some crazy stuff went down with the actual owner of that, which is sad because it was a good place. But anyway, I really liked it. It wasn't, we had read about this other place here in Vegas, like West Cliff or something. I don't know. It's basically one of those things where you go in, they detox you, and then they just put you back out on the street. They don't help you other than making you feel better by detoxing you. I'm like, that doesn't sound like that's going to be enough for me. So Solutions, they were more like a holistic type of rehab center. You actually go. They own a couple houses here, or they did. So you start out in one home. You go through your detox phase. So you're in a house with I don't know, maybe like 10 other people that are going through similar stuff. They're all there for different reasons, though, different drugs, whatever. So you detox there. So that house usually is like the detox people, the people that are just fresh in the program. So the whole 9 days of detox, I don't remember a thing. I just remember sleeping most of the time. It wasn't painful at all. It was nice because I think they put you on like lithium or something like that, which is like, my understanding is like one molecule away from alcohol or something like that. So kind of still gives your body what it needs, but it's not the actual alcohol. And then they taper you down. Again, I don't remember too much. I just remember kind of coming out of it, and then you're able to socialize a little more. Like you sit out in the living room with the other patients who have already detoxed. And then that's when the program starts to like kick in. That's when you actually start going as groups to like therapy sessions, group sessions. They were taking us to like yoga. They would take us to a gym. And now this is where like I'm not trying to like say I'm better than anyone or whatever. Everyone has a different situation, different story, different reasons they're in there, different substances they struggled with. Again, like I came from a fairly normal upbringing. Like there was no weird stuff in my life or my childhood. Like I had loving parents. We were well off. I had a great life. I wasn't sexually abused. I wasn't physically abused. Like there was no underlying like issues. But a lot of people in this center, their lives were just not even close to mine. They don't have parents. They were abused. They were sexually abused. They didn't have jobs. They like I was super capable. Like I worked my butt off. I made decent money. I had a regular life and routine and did regular things. Some of these people like didn't know how to take care of themselves whatsoever. They barely could like survive financially. They just had a way rougher situation than me. So it was kind of hard to relate to some of the people there as far as like their reasons for being there or their backgrounds. I sympathize for them, and I can like kind of picture being in their place, but my situation was a little different as far as like my life and my lifestyle. So yeah, it was just a mixed group of people. There were like teenagers in there, and then like full grown. I mean, I think there was someone there in their 60s. So there's people all walks of life. I think was like a lawyer in there. There was like a pretty high level businesswoman in there. So it doesn't matter. Like you don't have to be this poor like crackhead drug addict person. Like there's people that are high functioning, successful people that slip and fall into these addictions. So it was a good mix of people. So they start taking you to AA meetings, NA meetings. They have them in the house. There was a ton of stuff. It wasn't like where you just detox and then you have to go figure your life out. But I already kind of knew how to do a lot of these things. I guess that's what I was trying to get into. I already took decent care of myself. But some of these people, they just they were a mess. So they were trying to kind of teach these people like how to do normal things and how to be, respect your body more. They I think took us to get manicures one time just to show them that it feels good to take care of yourself. But I had already done most of these things, but I full on did everything that the center offered. There were half the people there were so negative and they're like, I don't want to be here. And that was the thing too. Some people were forced to be there. Some people it was like court ordered. Some people's parents put them in. Some people were there because they wanted to be there. And instead of waiting till the end to give you all these lessons, like if you are someone that's struggling, like I think just based on what I saw in the success rate of people that were in the rehab center, there were people that denied they had issues. They thought it was stupid that they were there. They didn't participate in anything. They didn't want to open up. They didn't think they had problems. They just had excuse after excuse as to why they shouldn't be there, why this was stupid, all this stuff. So I already kind of knew in my head like who was gonna fail the program because you could just tell. You could tell who wanted to be there and who didn't want to be there. So if you are struggling or you're watching this or whatever, like my number one thing is like you're probably not going to get better if you are in denial that you have an issue. If you sit there and tell yourself you don't have an issue, you probably actually have an issue. So the biggest piece of advice is you have to own up to yourself and even to like your family or whoever, your partner, that you have an issue and that you want help. If you don't want help and don't think you have an issue, but you go into like a rehab center, it's pointless. It's a waste of time, resources, everything, because the whole time you're in there, you're not gonna believe you should be there. And if that's the case, then you don't think you have a problem and you're just going to go back to whatever it was you were doing when you get out, because you don't think you have a problem. I knew I had a problem. I actually wanted to be there. I asked to go there. So for me, if I asked to go there and I wanted to go there, I need to participate. I need to be 100% involved. Even if it's something that I'm like, I already know this or I already have done this in my life. I don't need this. I still participated as if I needed it. I opened up 100%. I was vulnerable. I didn't lie about anything. I told people everything about my past, my thoughts, my feelings, my everything. Like, you have to be able to open up and admit to things, even if you don't even know maybe like why you are where you are in your addiction. Just talk. Just like my dad passing contributed, I think, to my drinking, but that wasn't why I drank and became an alcoholic. But I still shared that. I still shared all the little like painful moments of my life, because even to this day, I can't tell you why it got to where it got. My only thing that I can think of, honestly, is that I loved it so much that I didn't want to stop. And I think for me, it was more I had done it too much for too long and it finally took a toll on me. But I do feel in a way like it was an escape for me as well, because I didn't know what I wanted in life. It was just an easy way out to not have to deal with things. I'm like, oh, well, one day maybe I'll figure out what I want to do or what I want to be, and then I'll, get my stuff together and I'll cut back on drinking. But until then, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. And I think for me, it just caught up to me. Obviously, being in some negative relationships and these situations propel me to like maybe want to drink more. Sorry, I just did a hand gesture and it put a thumb up. I don't know if you guys will see that. So yeah, I don't know. There's probably a lot of contributing factors in my case. Everyone has different reasons. So you just got to be honest with yourself and talk and open up and just, I mean, if you're having any doubt, then you probably have an issue. If your family is coming to you concerned, then you have an issue. Like, someone who doesn't have an issue, I'm not going to go up to them and say, hey, I think you have a problem, you should go get help. Only when you're showing signs that you may have a problem is probably means you actually have a problem. And maybe your problem isn't like that severe yet, but you may be showing signs, or you may be having thoughts of like, wow, like I have to have 2 glasses of wine every night. Like, why? Why do I feel the need to drink every night? Like, yeah, it's just 2 glasses, but let's say you're doing 2 glasses for a couple years. And maybe that's all you do, and that's fine. Maybe. Some people might say, well, that's still bad. Like, if you have to drink every single night, there's probably like clinical people out there that would say, well, that's an alcoholic. Like, if you have more than 2 drinks a week or whatever. So I think, I don't know, in my opinion, there's maybe like different levels of alcoholics or addiction. There's like phases, I guess. So your 2 glasses of wine a night could eventually lead to 3, and then to 4, and then, oh my God, now I'm drinking a bottle a night and I'm having relationship problems and I'm drinking more because of my relationship and blah, blah, blah. So if you're having any kind of doubt, I would nip that in the butt as soon as you can. Don't say, well, one day I'll do it, or one day I'll cut back, or one day I'll quit. Because that's what I said. And yeah, one day I did quit, but that one day is because I was like basically dying. And I don't recommend anyone get to that point. That it was terrible. It was like the worst thing I've ever felt in my life. So I would say if you're having any doubts about yourself or a loved one, you get on that right away. Don't drag it out. Again, everyone's different. Everyone's got a different drug, a different reason, multiple reasons. Some of it's harder than others. Again, I feel like I was better off in certain ways than a lot of people that I had met in rehab. So in a way, it's a little easier for me maybe to get clean and stay clean versus them, because maybe they get clean, but they go back to like, they have no one to go back to. They have no family. They have no one that cares. Maybe the only people they know have issues themselves, and that's why they got involved in this stuff in the first place. Financially, maybe they are gonna struggle. There's just so many reasons, and it sucks because it's not like a one size fits all answer type situation. It's everyone's gonna have a different experience. So anyway, like, I was in that house for a month, saw some crazy shit. It was kind of sad to see how many people were in there just not taking it serious. And it's hard because someone like me who was there and wanted to get help, it was distracting to have these. It was more the younger people that were in there, but I almost want to be like, guys, just get out of here. If you don't want this, like, leave, because you're like messing with my chance and my time here. Like, you're distracting me. I mean, I guess in a way it's a blessing because I just see them and I'm like, I don't want to be like that. Like, I definitely want help. But either way, I think it was distracting. And then obviously younger people are influenced, so they were kind of influencing another young person that was there. So then they were like, well, I need to be cool in front of these people and act like I don't need help too. So I don't know. That was the one thing I didn't like about it, but overall it was a really good experience. And again, there's so many little side stories, but here's what I want to get into. One of the blessings, actually, I gotta pause here. I might have to edit this video, or yeah, let's. Okay, sorry, I had to take a quick break. So yeah, that was some of the experience in rehab. So another crazy thing that happened when I was in there was, I think I was probably in the one house. So you start in the one house for a couple weeks, and then when you're kind of like doing better, you transition over to another house. That way you're not kind of in the same place as the fresh people that are still detoxing and kind of, warming up to everything. So they transition you out to that house, so it's a little more calm over there. But I was about probably, I don't know, 2.5, 3 weeks in. So I was detoxed. I was feeling great. I was participating. Like, I just felt amazing. It was the first time I hadn't been hungover in like years. I forget. I think I was walking either to my bedroom or from my bedroom in the house. I think I was going to the bedroom, but anyway, you have to kind of like walk through the front entrance of this house. And the guy, I forget his name, but I think his name was Chris. He was kind of the guy that my mom had met with before bringing me in. And I had a few talks with him, I believe. So I kind of knew the guy. He was giving this woman a tour of the house and kind of explaining to her the facility and what they do. And for some reason, I just felt the need to stop and tell this lady, like, hey, this place is great. Like, I'm doing well here. I like the program, blah, blah, blah. I found out, she was thinking about bringing her daughter in. And I basically, like, highly recommended the place to her. I don't know how big of a help that was, but she ended up checking her daughter in the very next day, which I'll get into. It's kind of a crazy story, but so I don't even think I knew who her daughter was, because like when someone new was brought in, they're like literally like. So it's actually a co-ed house. So there were men and women in there, by the way. Women had kind of their own separate sleep area than men. So I didn't even see the daughter get brought in or anything. She was in detox for, I think, even longer than me, maybe. She had gone in for heroin, actually, which I'm not going to tell you her whole story, but that was pretty sad what had happened to her and where her life was before getting help. And that's kind of one of those situations where, like, she had a great upbringing and came from a great family, but had some, I think, stuff happened to her as a child, that she had no control over. And then, kind of her biological dad wasn't in the picture, things like that. So she had kind of probably some issues early on in life, and then just she got mixed up with the wrong guy, and he got her into some bad stuff, and fortunately her life just kind of went down from there, and was sort of basically kind of living on the streets and stuff for a while in Chicago and all that. So, like, that's where I was telling you, like, everyone's situation is different. I wasn't homeless. I wasn't like, it was just different. Like, I can't even fathom the way she was living versus the way I was living. And even to this day, which I'll get into, we both had very different childhoods in a sense, situations. So anyway, the daughter, Ashley, she eventually got out of detox, and I was still smoking cigarettes at the time. And again, like, I had money, I had family, so like, I had like my mom brought me like a carton of cigarettes or something so I had cigarettes while I was there, because once you're there, you can't leave or anything like that. So I was, basically, sorry, one second, my phone is going off. Anyway, sorry, I just got distracted. I'm kind of trying to help some other people with issues right now, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing like their phone calls or something. So anyway, Ashley was kind of, starting to come out a little bit, and I would bum cigarettes to a lot of people in the house because they didn't have money or the means to get them. So I was kind of like the cigarette guy, I guess. So Ashley was like bumming cigarettes off me. We maybe chit chatted a little bit here and there, but nothing crazy. She's younger than me, so at the time there was a pretty decent age gap. She was more in the kind of the younger group. And again, I talked to people, but I didn't try to get too involved too much because I was there to like get sober. I wasn't there to make friends. I wasn't there to get cliquey with people. I just wanted to get clean and get the F out of there and move on with my life. So, I was still nice to people. I talked to everyone. I tried to help people if I could. Try to just, it's kind of like just an ear for them, if they wanted to talk to me. Anyway, I transitioned. She was in the other house for a while. Then she finally got over to the other house where I was. We used to have like, it's called family day, where like family could come in and you meet in this one room and all that. Family could learn about addiction. You get to see your family. They'd have like food catered. So I think it was at the other house, there was like a family day in the backyard. And I think she had a daughter who was maybe, I don't know, 3 or so at the time. Little daughter anyway. And I kind of like, my heart kind of went out to her being like this young mom and all that. Anyway, I graduated the program. I left the house. For some reason, I had gone back and brought, this was back in the day, I had a case of like all my music, and I had promised some of the people that were there that I'd bring some of my CDs for them to listen to, so I brought like the case of CDs there. And I think like that was the last time I had really spoken to Ashley. And I didn't really stay in touch with too many of the people. I kind of did for a little while, and then everyone kind of went their separate way. Some people I think are doing well. Some people probably are still struggling. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I'm gonna. It's kind of like 2 points to this story. So I graduate rehab and I'm done. I do the 30-day outpatient. I was still like kind of sneaking into the yoga classes, just because it was good. It was something for me to do. I when I got out, so I had been in the nightclub prior. I was a single dad, raising kids. So I'm like, well, I have no experience doing anything else. I need to make money to be able to take care of my boys. I could have went back to the nightclub, but I figured if I go back to the nightclub, I'm going to be around all that partying, all that alcohol, that whole lifestyle, and just was like, I don't know if I could do it. I was like scared to go back. Part of me wanted to go back just because of the money. I mean, this may not seem like a big deal, but like I was making probably $80,000 a year just working 3 to 4 nights a week at a nightclub. So that was really good money for me, not having to have a college degree or experience or anything. So it was hard for me to turn that down and be like, well, what am I going to do to make that kind of money? I've got kids to raise. So my mom's had her business for the date of this video, it's about 34 years. She had already previously been, thinking about hiring some help. My aunt was doing a lot for her at the time, but lived in California. So my mom kind of, I think, wanted someone more full time to help with like the creative side of the business. She approached me, basically said, "Look, I was thinking about hiring this type of person. I've always felt you had this, creativity inside of you. Do you want the opportunity to try to come work for me?" And I struggled with that in the beginning. One, because of the money, but two, office environments were never my thing. Sitting in a cubicle, being a robot, all that stuff was just not, wasn't for me. So I really struggled, and then I was like, well, I don't know how to do any office stuff really. I don't have any experience. I've been a busboy my whole life basically, and she's like, well, we'll figure it out. You can learn along the way. Why don't we just give it 30 days? If you don't like it, you can figure something else out. I think I thought about it for a couple days, and it basically came down to like, I have to do this. I have to leave the nightclub and go try this. Like, I can't go back to my old ways expecting like change. Like, yes, I probably, looking back, I think I was strong enough to where I could have done it and been okay, but that would have only lasted so long. I still would have needed to or wanted to get out of that environment eventually. So I basically, kind of a big believer, if opportunity comes knocking at your door, you should really consider it. So I basically took the opportunity and was like, when is this going to happen again? When am I going to have this chance? you know. So started going to work for her, and this is where things really get crazy. And I'm not religious. I would say I'm like spiritual and believe there's something out there of a higher power or a creator, but not necessarily like, God, that, or like, I'm not in any kind of religious group. I don't know what I believe in. I just believe there is something out there. I do believe we're here for a reason, and this isn't just an accident. So back to the ex thing, getting pregnant with her relative. So she had been pregnant. I went into rehab. I got clean. Was feeling amazing about life. And literally like 3 weeks after getting done with the program and going to work for my mom, I was contacted by CPS, which is Child Protective Services. And I at first got scared because I think they had just left a voicemail. I didn't get their like initial call, and I was scared because I'm like, oh my God, like I just got out of rehab, like, and me and the mom were not good. So I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking she called CPS on me and told them I'm an alcoholic and all this stuff, whatever. So I was like panicking. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm clean. I'm like trying to get my life together, and now this is happening. So I called them back, and it wasn't about me. They were contacting me because the boy's mom had the baby, and unfortunately, the baby tested positive for opiates. And again, I know these are kind of a lot of details, but I think it's important. It's just because you never know what's going on with someone or reasons or what, there's just so much behind people. So I want to share that. So basically, they for some reason tested the baby at the hospital after it was born, and it was positive. So they explained to me, because of this, we understand you are the father, and the guardian of this other boy. We need to place them with you while we investigate this matter. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, okay. It was like a big relief, knowing that it wasn't about me and my boys were getting put with me, which I had wanted for so long. Um, and then I think it was like 2 weeks in, the mom tried to tell CPS about my drinking issues. So I'm like, oh no, like this isn't going to be good. Now both parents are possibly going to lose these kids. But me being sober and clear headed, I basically was man enough to admit to CPS, yes, I had a drinking problem. Yes, this, yes, that. I said, but I actually just got out of rehab. Here's all my paperwork. Here's all my AA meeting minutes. Here's my certificates. Here's everything to prove everything. I looked them in the eye, said, I will take a drug test every day for the rest of my life to prove to you guys I am fit to take care of these kids. And they looked at everything. They said, you have done exactly what we like to see. You've acknowledged your issues. You've gotten help, and you're on a better path. Here's the boys. So I was like, oh, thank God. Okay. Still a sad situation, but I was happy that I wasn't going to lose them. Now, unfortunately, an incident had happened prior to me going into rehab where I found out the relative that she was sleeping with had blown like marijuana smoke into one of the boys' faces at some point or something, and me and him got into an altercation about it prior, back when I was still drinking. I'm not gonna lie, I punched his ass in the face. I think any normal dad would do that to a guy that does that to their child. Still don't regret it. Still don't think anything was wrong with it. But they went and lied on the police report and said that I beat him up and her up and all this stuff. Even though I had eyewitnesses, they checked her for any signs of physical whatever, and there was nothing on her. But because of that whole situation, there was this kind of domestic violence thing attached to it. So then they're like, well, because of this, we got to take your boys and place them with some family until you get this cleared up. So fortunately, I had to just play along with our stupid legal system and go to anger management classes and all this stuff. Just get a lawyer, deal with it all. That took a couple months. Did what they told me to do, put my pride aside, and then got the boys back after that. So I had to deal with that, which was a little hiccup, kind of annoying, but did whatever I had to do to get my kids. That's what, I guess a real man or a real parent does, I guess. So, and that's the part of the story that is freaky to me is I went this whole time fully functioning, party animal, whatever you want to call me. Never really got sick, could function, but out of nowhere, just like that, overnight, something happened to me to where I got sick and needed to go get help and go to rehab. And then literally right after me getting my life together, this situation with the mom happens to where the boys needed someone. I've told this so many times that I think I don't tell it as good anymore, but that's the part that gives me the chills is if I hadn't gotten sick out of nowhere like that, I would have still been drinking and having health issues. Their mom would have had the baby, and then CPS would have come to me and they would have looked at me and been like, "You're an alcoholic. Like, you can't take care of these kids either." And they would have placed the kids with family. So it's really strange to me that, like, the timing of it all, like, I literally got sick and had just enough time to get sober and get, like, my my life re-going again, and then this happened. So again, like, I'm not religious, but it's just too freaky, the timing of it all. It's like whatever's out there knew these boys were gonna need me, and like decided, hey, it's time to make Brian super sick so he can get his life together. So that's what's really crazy about this whole story is kind of the timing and how, because if I hadn't have gotten help, I would have lost my kids as well, and that probably would have been the end of it for me. I mean, I probably still would have fought after that to get them back, but that would have been incredibly hard. So it was a blessing that I got sick when I did. Um, so anyway, I got custody of them. I was now, feeling great, just literally like going to work and taking care of my boys. Like, that was my life. Work, boys, and then working on myself, because when you're drinking and your head is so clouded and just hurting all the time from being hungover, like, you can't think, you can't plan, you can't figure out who you really are. You don't know what your real emotions are because they're so numbed up all the time or blocked by drugs and alcohol. So I had to, like, figure out who Brian was now. I'm sober, my head's cleared. Like, who am I now? What do I like to do? Who who do I want to be? Like, I can actually think now. And it's like, well, I'm not busy drinking and partying, so what do I do with my time? Um, so the God, it was the first 4 years, to be honest. So the first 2 years was so I had gotten custody of the kids. Now Ethan was not my biological son, so there wasn't really anything I could do on my own. I had to go through the whole process with CPS, which took 2 years, I think a little over 2 years, of back and forth battling, because their ultimate goal is to place the parents back with their kids or kids back with their parents. But his mom kept messing up. She wasn't showing up to visitation. She couldn't pass drug tests. She actually got pregnant again a year later. So it's like she'd be doing good for a little bit, so they'd start to, give her some leeway, then she'd mess up. So it's always like this constant restart of the whole process. Super frustrating. Had to, like, take them down every week for visitation, all this stuff. Finally, Ethan kind of got to that age where he was old enough to kind of start speaking up for himself and started telling the courts and his mom that he wanted to be with me. And basically told them, like, let Brian raise me. Sorry. I haven't talked about this in a while. So that was like a defining moment when he was able to kind of speak up for himself, because it was, my hands were tied with the courts. Like, they do their own thing, they don't care. But the fact that he could finally kind of start speaking for himself, they took it into consideration. his mom really didn't want to help. She just kept trying to make everything hard for the longest time, but she finally, I think, realized after hearing him say it that he was better off in my custody, and she finally signed over guardianship to me. Which it was like, it's hard to say, it like made me happy because the fact that this, I think he was like 12 years old at the time, the fact that this 12-year-old boy had already lost his real dad, who he never knew, and his mom. It was sad, but I was also happy that like I now could like save him and protect him, because his mom just was not capable of taking care of him properly, and it was only going to get worse if he went back to her. So as sad as it was also an incredible moment and a relief after 2 years of the stress of trying to get him. And then with my son, him being my son, we were able to get a lawyer, and I got custody within 6 months. It was sad, but easy, because she didn't even show up to court to fight for him, so that granted me automatic full custody. It's sad that she didn't even show up to fight, but I'm kind of glad she didn't, because it made it easy. So anyway, yeah, the timing again of all this was just crazy, and the fact that I was able to get my head back on my shoulders to be there for those boys, because God, or whatever you believe in, knew that they needed me, and that I was strong enough to take care of them. I just needed to get my shit together. So that happened. Again, that was like a 2-year process. Besides that, working, I again had no skills, so I started teaching myself everything I possibly could, thanks to YouTube and the internet. So I started growing my role in the company. I wasn't dating, I wasn't doing anything. I was, again, just working on myself, doing a lot of self-reflecting. I spent a lot of time just Red Rock Canyon's like 20 minutes from my house, so I spent a lot of time just going into nature alone, just hiking, and sometimes I would think about stuff, sometimes I wouldn't think about anything. I would just look at rocks, I would look at the sky, I would listen to the water. Going out in nature like really, really helped me clear my head, it helped me process stuff, it just helped me reconnect with the universe again. Not to get into it, but that's kind of why I started my company, Traverse Adventure Gear. It's just, nature's just awesome. If you hate nature, I don't understand it, but you should at least maybe try to experience it. Force yourself. Look at it as a form of rehab. I always liked going into the woods and exploring as a kid, and I kind of lost that, because I spent so much time drinking. But nature's amazing. even if you're just stressed, go into nature, go chill. It's so beneficial for so many reasons. Um, so anyway, I spent a lot of time doing that. I wasn't dating. I didn't want to bring anyone into this chaos while everything was getting figured out. I didn't want the boys dealing with like new people and emotions. I wanted them to kind of start this new life without a lot of outside influence and distraction. So I kind of sacrificed for quite some time. And then I think finally, like three and a half years in, kind of got to the point where I started feeling lonely as a man. Like I was ready to start dating again. This time, with a different like reason for it. A lot of women I dated back in the day, was a lot of it was based on looks. I'm not gonna lie, like, and no offense, but I feel like the hot ones are the crazy ones, and that's what I tended to chase all the time. Um, a lot of it was based off looks, and that's why a lot of my relationships didn't work necessarily or last, because there's so much more to a relationship than just like the physical and sexual attraction to someone. There's got to be more deeper connection beyond that, and a lot of, at least with the mom, like I wanted to get that deep connection with her, but it just wasn't there. I think ultimately that's why we never worked, and we basically were trying to force it to work because we had kids together. But anyway, so I kind of had a new idea of what I was looking for, and I was gonna base it off of way more criteria than just like looks or physical attraction. I hopped on some dating apps. I'm not gonna lie. I I didn't want to, but I'm a single dad. I don't go out anymore now. I'm not in like clubs. Like, where am I gonna meet people? I was so used to meeting people like out at the bars or whatever. So I'm like, I guess I'll try these apps. I don't know. I wouldn't say I spent a ton of time on there, but I didn't like a lot of what I saw on there. It was hard, like, once, because I laid it all out in my profile for the most part, that I don't drink anymore, I'm a single dad, all this stuff. And I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I guarantee most women, especially around that age at that time, in their early 30s, didn't really want to probably take on two kids and not be able to go out and have fun at night and all that. So I don't know, I was struggling to connect with people. I think I showed up to one, the girl never showed up. Showed up to another. The girl sort of hit it off, but I think she still wanted to have more of that night out type lifestyle. And then she met some other guy, which was fine. I think they're actually still together and happy, so good for them. I don't know, it just wasn't working. I was kind of starting to get frustrated. And then my coworker at the time, she's like, just get off the apps. She's like, just make a checklist of what you're looking for, and just stop looking. Like, the universe will bring that person to you, and just stop like trying to force it, I guess. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, the dating stuff's just stressing me more than anything. So I just got off all the apps, and just kind of kept doing my own thing. And then I actually forgot to say this, but so Ashley from rehab, we had bumped into each other, I think, about a year and a half after rehab. Um, we were, I was, we basically were eating lunch at the same place, and we like noticed each other. So we caught up real quick. That day, I think we then added each other as friends on Facebook. and that was about it. Never hung out, never like had conversation after that. I would see like her post with her, like her and her family would travel and do things, and she loved hiking in the outdoors. And I always like, I saw her post and was like, wow, she's doing really great. Like, I started getting jealous because like she was traveling and going to all these places, and I was just happy for her to see her um, doing well, and you could tell she was clean and staying sober. So anyway, so like I think it was like 4 months after I stopped looking for someone, me and her bumped into each other again at Panera Bread. I literally like sat down facing the door, and I think a minute later, I looked up and I saw her putting her dishes away. And I was like looking at her. She looked different than kind of what I had remembered her because it had been a couple years. Because yeah, this was probably about 2 years after I originally bumped into her. And I had to think for a second, like, is that Ashley? Like, I wasn't sure at first, so I didn't have her phone number, but I had her on Facebook, so I got on Facebook Messenger real quick. I said, hey, were you just at Panera Bread or whatever? And I thought she was still out in the parking lot, but she was already like kind of headed back to work. She saw my message and was like, yeah, I was just there. I was like, oh, come say hi real quick. And she told me this later on, but like she's pretty plain Jane, natural person, so she doesn't wear a lot of makeup. She doesn't like do her hair up all crazy. But for some reason that day, she kind of like did herself up a little bit. And I guess was driving back to work and was kind of talking to herself like, well, this was stupid. Why did I get dressed up? Like nothing happened today. And then she got my message. So she, I think because of that, turned back around to come say hi to me. We just caught up real quick, realized that we both were like literally working like, I think we're like at the time like a mile away from each other. And so I was going out to lunch like almost every day, which was probably really bad because it was expensive and all that. But anyway, so I started inviting her to lunch with me just so I have someone to talk to and like a friend. And like, I don't know, we probably were going to lunches for like a month together. Kind of like a couple weeks in, I started like checking things off that list I had made on like the qualities I was looking for in someone. And it was just weird. I was like, oh my God, like this girl's like fitting this new profile or whatever you want to call it. I'm not trying to sound creepy or anything, but I was like checking things off in my head. I'm like, wow. And so I started like kind of really becoming attracted to her more because of all those things, all those qualities she had. And she was just so real and down to earth and just basic. And she wasn't trying to like put on some show for me or impress me, or she was just real and raw and like just wasn't into superficial stuff, and she wasn't into material things, and she was just very chill and easy. There was no like forced anything to try to make it work. It just was like flowed so natural between us. The conversation, just like I felt comfortable around her. She was nervous as hell, but she has kind of social anxiety. She's way better now than she used to be, but I think for her she was more nervous. But yeah, it just started making a lot of sense. And one day I just sort of I think I like kind of reached out to grab her hand when I was saying bye to her, and she got super nervous. And she always says my friend Chris saved us because he happened to like pull up in that same parking lot with his mom. They were grabbing lunch or something, so he kind of like broke up the moment. So she always like thanks him or whatever for that, but she was just so nervous. But after that, we just kind of kept talking, and then we started actually like hanging out. I think on the weekends we started like hiking together, and she has a daughter, so like um, she'd bring her daughter over and our kids would play together. And yeah, it was awesome, and like it just worked out so well, and we just kind of hit it off. And then she started staying the nights on the weekends with us. And my biological son is gay, so like him and her daughter would really get along and connect. Um, so they like kind of built this bond, which was great. Um, and what's interesting about this whole thing is like I tell people, like, yeah, like my addiction and all that was horrible, but like because of it, all these great things happen, with my kids. And meeting Ashley at rehab, if we hadn't have been in there at the same time, if I hadn't have talked to her mom, it's just weird how it all like happened. And like the timing of us bumping back into each other, because both of us weren't necessarily ready for that next step the first time we met. So it's almost like the world was like reintroducing us, so that later down the road, when it was time, we could get like brought back together. Like I strongly believe that. I don't think it was coincidence, to be honest. It's just too weird the way it all happened. Um, so yeah, that was just like a blessing that we met, and like we've both been through similar stuff, so we can relate as partners together. If I dated someone who never went through addiction or any of that, they might struggle to understand that side of me. So we're able to connect. And then she was a mom, so she, already had a kid of her own, so she wasn't afraid of my kids, and all that. And I just remember one night I had asked my son Ian about her or whatever, and he said something like, "Oh, I could totally see Ashley like being my new mom," or something like that. And that just solidified it for me, because I'm not saying it has to be this way for everyone, but for me personally, like whoever I was getting into a relationship with, like they had to work with my kids. It's not just about me. Like, yeah, my kids are going to grow up one day and I can do whatever I want. I said, but it's still important that my kids like and love and can connect with the person I end up with. I don't want this weird disconnect my entire life where they look at her as, oh, this stepmom that I don't like, or the stepmom that came in and took over. Like, so that was super important to me to hear that he basically could see her like kind of replacing his mom, I guess. Um, so yeah, that was that. I could probably drag that out another hour, that whole situation story. But so that was a true blessing. We're still together to this day. We literally, I think a year after being together, got engaged, bought a house together. I proposed to her when we um, got the keys to our house. It's just been the best relationship I've ever been in. I'm sure some of it has to do with me being sober and her being sober, but it's also just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I made better choices I had a clear head and made better choices on who I wanted to be in a relationship with. And it goes to show that is helpful, because we're still together to this day. I mean, it's really been a nice relationship. We don't argue much. We don't get into it much. We love each other. We both respect each other. We allow each other to do our own things. We have our own interests, but we have similar interests. We support each other. I wouldn't say we have defined roles in this household, but we kind of have our things, but we also will step in and help each other whenever and wherever it's needed. We communicate a lot. We're also happy just being in a room together and not talking. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. Part of me, I kind of make fun of it, but it's like if I hadn't have gone through my addiction, I never would have met her, and I wouldn't. Who knows where I'd be right now? So anyway, there's always. I've learned to look at all these bad situations and experiences, and I try to find out, like, what good came out of this. Like, even like the 5.5 years of being in such a horrible relationship, like, I could sit here and be mad and be like, God, what a waste of 5 years and all this stuff. But I try to find, okay, well, what good came out of that? I mean, there's so many good things came out of it, as far as like what I learned about like what I don't want in future relationships. If I hadn't have stuck it out for that long, again, I might not have built the relationship I had with Ethan, and therefore I wouldn't maybe be in his life. So there's a lot of things I try to look at, what good came out of all this bad stuff. Even maybe me helping someone now that is struggling is another good thing that came out. Like, I had to go through this shit maybe to help other people and to tell my story so other people can tell their story, or whatever, reach out for help. I don't know. But yeah, I always try to look at what good came out of something bad, and then it's okay to be upset at bad things or negative stuff, but you gotta let things go. You gotta move on. You gotta not hold grudges. You gotta, like, don't go try to retaliate on people. Just forgive people. Like, to this day, I could say I'm so mad at their mother for the stuff she put the kids through and all that, and I could just be angry and hateful towards her, but I have compassion for her. I have sympathy for her. I feel for her. Back when all this kind of went on, I forgave her. I let it go. I don't forget what happened, but I forgave. Unfortunately, she's still struggling with addiction, with alcohol, pills, all kinds of stuff, abusive relationships. I think she's kind of in and out of being homeless, and I don't even know where she is anymore. So it's super sad that 4 children have lost their mom, because she technically has 4 kids out there, the 2 boys and then her other 2. So I don't know. Addiction is disgusting. It ruins so much. It doesn't just ruin like the person who has the addiction. It affects like anyone that has any kind of relation to them, whether it's a child, a spouse, a partner, a friend, a parent. Like, it affects everyone, and it's sad, and I don't know, to me, I don't even know like really how to say this or what, and everyone looks at everyone differently, but you know, people who maybe don't struggle with anything or never use drugs or any of that could look at drug addicts and really put them down or think badly of them. But it's 100% like our choice. We choose to pick up that drink. We choose to put a needle in our arm. We choose to pop a pill. It is our choice. Yes. We are the ones doing it to ourselves. But we don't I don't want to speak for like all people, but I think the majority of people, they're not doing it because they want to be like a drug addict. They don't, and or this bad person or this like junkie, or a lot of times it starts with just like experimenting and having a little fun. Like for me, it was all about fun and just partying and like having those experiences and kind of letting loose. Like I wasn't doing it to hide or to like deal with something. It was all in fun for a long time. And that for some people, they know when to turn it on and off. It's easy for them. And other people, it's a little harder. And for other people, it's even harder. And it's those people that like overdo it, or it becomes harder for them. It just then it starts to become more of this routine, and then that routine then turns in to that addiction, and the routine and the addiction then affect kind of your mental state and the people you're around and how you feel about yourself. And then like depression can set in, and then you make bad decisions, you get with the wrong people, you ruin relationships. Like it's never planned. Like people don't like say, hey, I'm gonna do this so I can F up my entire life and become addicted. um, some of it is maybe, based off things that happen in their past, in their childhood. It's maybe a way to cope with that. I don't know that part of it because that's not what happened to me, but I know there's a lot of people out there that have told me about some things that happened to them in their past that probably had an effect on why they started using. I don't know. So yeah, I have a soft spot for all people, whether you're functioning addict, um, or like a homeless person that just had no help, no anything. Again, it's we can't blame anyone but ourselves because we're the ones choosing to do these things. But I never had the intent on becoming an alcoholic. I never had the intent on any of that. It just turned into that, unfortunately. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. I know tons of people from just my high school alone that I partied with and had so much fun with, and they were beautiful people and still are to this day. But they, just like me, they had a hard time stopping, or it progressed into different substances, and they're still struggling. I've had some people die that I knew from their addictions. Some people, I believe, I don't know if it was necessarily addiction related, but I've had some people that I know from school that have committed suicide. maybe from other mental issues. Um, I had a good friend here. And it sounds bad, but like I remember when I got my job at the nightclub. This was when I was kind of freshly single, but still maybe trying to work things out with my ex. I wasn't partying too much, but then I started partying more with all my coworkers at the nightclub. And I remember my friend. Um, I don't really want. I'm not gonna say his name, but anyone who knows him might know who I'm talking about. But I just remember like kind of seeing him, and I'm like, yeah, this guy likes to drink and have fun. Like me and him are gonna get along great. And I think I even like approached him and said that. Um, so me and him, we were like kind of our go-to drinking buddies. Like if no one else was around, he would just like come over and barbecue, and we'd hang and drink together. But he, again, I mean, you're just out having fun, and then he started taking the occasional pain pill here and there, and then it's like he started doing it more often and more often. Then he was like starting to take more, and then like I in my head knew like he was kind of like me and had a drinking problem, but then he was really getting into the pills. And then I ended up leaving the nightclub, when I went off to get sober. And then I later found out that he was struggling really bad. I think he had went to kind of one of those little quick 7-day detox places, tried to get help. And then he reached out to me. I tried to like kind of say, hey dude, like let's hang out. Like I can help you. You can get away from all this stuff. If you're struggling, just call me, whatever. And I never really heard from him after that. He kind of then just couldn't keep up with life, and this is, I think, what happens to people. They don't plan on being homeless. They're not necessarily like, hey, I want to be this worthless person, so I'm going to choose to be homeless. I think at some point these people were normal, good people, and just shit happens to them, and they can't get out, or they don't have help. So I don't know, I had been out of touch for a while. He messaged me on Facebook one time asking for money. I didn't even know if it was him. He didn't respond. And I'm like, well, I can't get involved in this stuff. And I found out like he lost his job and resorted to like selling drugs for these guys, and I think got into some trouble with them and owed them a lot of money or something like that. I don't know the full story, but and then I don't remember how much longer, but we were coming back from Florida. This was during COVID, because I actually ended up getting COVID when I was in Florida, and it hit me on the plane ride home. And I remember I got a Facebook message from a good friend. We were both hung out with this guy quite often, and got word. I got word that he had passed away. I think that was, I want to say back in 2020, maybe 3 years ago. I think we were the same age. Oh, I don't know. He was maybe around 40. Not sure. But I didn't even know it. But I guess he was homeless for a while in Las Vegas. I haven't been down there myself, but I've seen some videos. There's these tunnels um, under the strip where it's like this whole homeless society like lives down there. Like people have like legit like apartments down there with beds and dressers and all this stuff. And I guess he was living down there, and I think it hit. I think it was like 120 or something degrees in Las Vegas that week, and apparently, like I think from what I heard, it was from he died of like heat stroke or whatever. But obviously, he wasn't healthy because he was homeless and had, I don't even know at the time, maybe if he had advanced into doing other drugs, but I'm sure he just wasn't healthy enough and his body couldn't take the heat, I guess. And I don't even know how he was found or whatever, but so I lost him. I lost people I knew in high school. I've lost family. Um, I know other people that have lost people. Not gonna say names, but this like shit is getting scary. A family member of ours recently um, had some friends that were just, they weren't addicts by any means, and they were celebrating some stuff and got a hold of some coke, which they've had experience with. It was just no biggie to them, and apparently was laced with fentanyl, and I think it was one female and three guys. They were just being innocent, having a little fun, and they all died recently. I don't even know them. I had met the girl once, briefly at a wedding, but I didn't know these people. But just hearing about this made me so sad. Like, this is just me and like my little circle. Like, you spiderweb this out, it's like how many people are dying, how many people are suffering, how many people have addictions, how many people are dealing with mental issues. It's sad, and it's like getting worse and worse and worse. Um, I don't know. I'm here just talking. I don't know if anyone's even listened this far. Um, I didn't think I could quit. I thought I was gonna die. I thought my life was over. I didn't think there was a way out. I had no hope, to be honest. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know how I was gonna stop. All I knew is I needed to, and all I knew is I didn't want to die. I was too young. I loved life. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to like leave this place. I didn't want to leave my family. So I reached out and I got help. And I think what sucks the most that pisses me off about our country, and I don't even know if it's just America, but we're so hung up on money and greed that, like, you I think certain places you can get help or assistance or something, but most places I don't even know if insurances cover rehab. I'm not. It's different for everyone, so I'm just speaking out of my own knowledge or the little bit I do know, and it's like the rehab facility I went to charged $30,000. $30,000. Like, that's just insane to me. Like, hey, we're here to help you, but we're also here to get rich and, like, make it impossible for most people to even get help from us. Um, it's like kind of makes me sick. And yes, there is other ways for people to get that help. I don't know. I think maybe I didn't have health insurance at the time, so I don't know. Maybe that's why we had to pay, like, out of pocket for everything. But it's just sad to me that these facilities, like, literally profit off people's addictions. Like, yes, I'm grateful for them because I got help, but it's just some people don't go get the help because they can't afford the help. And therefore they resort to, like, those in and out detox facilities, which they help you with your sickness so you don't feel so sick and all that, but it doesn't teach these people how to, like, change their lives or turn their lives around. So unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that financially can't get help, or they don't have family that can help them, and therefore they're kind of screwed. They just have to keep using so they don't feel so crappy. And then unfortunately that leads to their lives just going down, 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 down until they either die or end up homeless or whatever it may be. And that's what's hard, everyone. I don't even want to say everyone, because there's people out there that have addictions that are in denial and don't want help, don't think they need help. Maybe they're trying to find a way out. That's on them, but I just lost my train of thought. I guess it's. I guess I'm one of the fortunate ones, I guess. For many reasons. One, I grew up and had a decent life, so I already kind of knew what normal felt like. Some people don't know what normal feels like. They have effed up lives from the day they're born, and it's not their fault. They're just born into a wrong situation. So some people just don't know anything better, anything different. I fortunately did, and I could use some of that to help me get better, because I knew what that felt like. I knew what normal was. So I could feel that and remember it to then use that to say that's what I want again. Some people don't know what that's like. And that probably just hurts. I can't even imagine. And that probably makes it so much harder for people. I was fortunate financially that, I know this sounds weird, but, like, my dad had passed away, and had a semi-decent life insurance policy, which then gave my mom the financial ability to help me. She was there on family days. Some people didn't have family show up, so I had support from family. I had the inner want and strength to fight and overcome this. I was able to acknowledge that I had this addiction and admit to myself. All these things are important. They all add up. And if you are someone that's struggling and you're listening to this, whether you have help or not, it's still up to you. You could have all the support, all the money in the world, but if you can't help yourself, I'm not trying to give you no hope, but it's all up to you when it comes down to it. It comes up to you, admitting that you have the issue in the first place. So many people just are in denial and don't think they do, but I'm sorry, but you gotta know that you do. And if you can't stop using, then you have an issue. And you have to acknowledge that first. You have to admit to yourself, I am an addict, I am an alcoholic, I am this. And then tell yourself, I don't want to be that anymore. And then tell yourself, I need to get help. Then go find that help. Then take advantage of that help. Don't take it for granted. Go in and get the most out of it. Participate, talk, open up, spill your guts, cry. Just tell it all. Even if horrible things happen to you, you have to release your inner demons or whatever it is inside of you. You can't hold that shit in. You gotta let stuff go. And again, I didn't experience a lot of negative stuff growing up, so it's maybe easier for me to say this, but kind of like I said earlier, I don't hold grudges, I don't retaliate, I don't whatever. You gotta shit happens. Things are bad, but it's already happened. It's over with now. You can't continuously live through that in your head as if it's still happening to you. You have to move on. It's hey, this happened to me, this was terrible, whatever. I'm not saying forget it ever happened, but you can't. It's already done and over with. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to just somehow find that strength to manage things that are inside of you and let it go. It's not easy. I'm not saying that, but we've at least got to try and fight and fight and fight. I still have things that come up in my head every so often. I acknowledge them. I'm aware. I say hello, and then I move on. I don't sit there and start to feel sorry for myself all over again and loop it in my head. You gotta want it. You gotta want it so bad. I was so tired of my life and my lifestyle and being hungover and just repeating it. It was Groundhog's Day every day, just repeat. And I was just so miserable. I wanted nothing but change, and that's what you gotta want. You gotta fight for it. It's not gonna come easy. Some people, it's easier than others. Others fall back, they relapse, they pick themselves back up. It's one day at a time. It really is. I'm fortunate enough that I don't really struggle, and I'm thankful for that. But I know there's people out there that struggle every day. Even people that are like 20, 30 years sober, they still struggle. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I gotta wrap this up soon, but like, I know for me, one, admitting that I had the issue, two, wanting to help, all that stuff that I've already said. But it's like, you gotta change shit after that initial like detox or rehab phase or whatever it is. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to change your lifestyle. You have to get rid of toxic people, toxic environments. Like, if there's anything that like causes you to use, if it's like a bad relationship, your parents, a job, a friend, like, get rid of that shit. And I am going to swear, because that is like, you you like, F all that stuff. Like, those people in those situations are not important to you. Like, and we all do it. We all, at some point in our lives, have stayed in an unhealthy relationship or situation, and I don't know what it is about us, but we will put up with it. And then it just like makes us miserable, or causes stress or anger or hate, or causes us to want to drink or use drugs. It's like, I don't know why we do that as humans. Instead of like instantly being like, this is insane, like, I'm done. I mean, some people might be able to do that, but I think a lot of us put up with stuff for way too long. So you can't feel bad. I don't care if it's your mom or your dad or anyone. Like, if they're having a major negative influence on you, move on. It's your life and only your life. Don't live it for anyone else but yourself. Don't change for anyone else. Don't lower yourself for anyone else. Get rid of all that shit and start fresh. You don't need to know exactly what that is, but just start, like, with little things. Like, even if it's as simple as just trying like new hobbies, or watching, new whatever. Like, a huge thing for me, and it's actually like, it kind of drives me nuts still to this day, is I, for the longest time, didn't know what I wanted to do in life. Like, I love skateboarding and snowboarding and all that stuff, and I did that. But it's like, now that I'm older, like, I was spent so much of my life drinking and chasing that stuff and feeling and being hungover all the time, that I never had time or like the mental capacity to think about anything else. Um, I was always drawn to like art and things like that, but I just never did any of that stuff. And then it's like, once I got sober, a huge thing for me is hobbies. Like, and I tell this to everyone I talk to, you've got to stay busy. You can't like go from this because most addicts, we have a chaotic ass life. Like, it's just nuts. Like, there's no order to it. It's a mess all the time. So you can't go from like this chaotic life, get clean, and then like just go home and like sit in a room and be like, I don't know what to do. I'm so used to like all this chaos in my life. This is too weird. It's too quiet. I feel too alone. Like, oh no, now I'm like in my head again because I have nothing to do. And then, I'm not a doctor or anything, but just in my own personal opinion, it's like, if you're sitting around with nothing to do and all you're doing is going back into your head and thinking, a lot of that past is going to start coming up again, and then you're going to start thinking about things, and then you're going to like kind of fall back into that mental state. And even though it's not happening to you right now, you're like reliving all that negative stuff, which is then going to start to make you depressed, and then you're going to start hurting again, and then you're going to get bored, and then, in my opinion, that's going to cause a lot of people to want to use again. So I think the biggest help for me has been like having hobbies, and that's what's funny is like I never knew what I wanted to do, and now like that I'm sober for the past 12 years, I want to do everything. Like there's so much stuff that I'm interested in now and want to do. Um, and unfortunately, there's just not enough time in the day to do it all. But like, I mean, one, I had started that new job, but I didn't know anything. So one thing I started doing was just self-educating. I taught myself everything I needed to know and beyond, like things I wanted to know, because I didn't want to just be this basic employee. Like I wanted to keep leveling up, help the company more, do more, make more money. In order to do that, I had to learn stuff because I didn't go to college, I didn't have experience. So I spent a lot of time learning, which YouTube videos. Like I'm not a college student. I'm not one to sit at a desk, listen to lectures. I'm terrible at memorizing, taking notes, reading. None of that works for me. But watching videos, short videos, to learn one thing at a time, that one thing I need to know. I'm sorry, but I gotta go on a little rant. That's what I hate about college, because my son just started going to college and he has to take all these classes that have nothing to do with his degree before he can even start learning what he needs to know to do the job he wants to do. I think it's ridiculous. So YouTube, I can just go on and learn that exact thing I need to for free. So if you are a recovering addict and you're like, I don't have the financial ability to go back to school or anything, it's okay. You can learn basically anything and everything online for free. You just gotta have the discipline to sit down and do it. And if that's literally like laying in your bed at night and picking one video before you go to bed and say, hey, I'm going to watch this 10-minute video on how to make a bench out of wood, whatever it is, just do it and keep doing it and keep learning and then keep doing things. And before you know it, like you're going to find out what interests you, what makes you happy, and then just start doing that stuff. One, for a career, but two, like I picked up, one, hiking. I got into hiking and just being outdoors. That's a huge help. I 100% recommend doing that. Exercise is amazing. I don't do that as often as I would want, but that's just that time thing. I built out my garage into a woodworking shop. That is so therapeutic to like create things and do stuff with your hand. And like I could have this most stressful day at work. Sometimes it's hard to get myself to go in the garage, but literally about 15 minutes into like getting into a project, my stress would just drop drastically. I'd be so focused on like creating this piece of art that I wasn't giving myself and my mind the time to sit and wander and go off into these dark places or my past, because I'm staying in the present. And when you're doing like a hobby or a creative activity, you're in the moment, you're in the present. When you're just laying in a bed in a dark room with your blinds closed, feeling sorry for yourself, all you got is your thoughts. And a lot of times those aren't healthy thoughts. So my number one thing for anyone struggling with addiction is find hobbies. You can go to AA meetings, do all that stuff, whatever they tell you. I personally, AA and NA were helpful in the beginning, but I found myself needing to stop going to those meetings. Some people swear by them. Some people have been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. They love it. That's their place. That's their community. not talking negative on it whatsoever, it helped me in the way it needed to, but I got to a point where it was almost having a negative effect on me because, and I might get some negative comments on this, but like just going in and hearing a lot of these negative stories over and over again and everyone's issues and struggles, it was just depressing. Like I found myself feeling worse after the meetings. So I stopped going. Again, it works for some people, so I'm not knocking it. And maybe you do both. Try both out. But I just felt like hearing all this negative stuff and these sad stories all the time. As much as I want to be there to maybe help that next person, it was making it worse for me. So I chose to opt out of that. Just staying busy, having hobbies, working out, all that stuff, hiking, woodworking, and it could be whatever. I got into photography. Go try different things. Like just go join some like local groups in your town. Like take up knitting, take up painting, take up whatever. Go volunteer at a pet rescue. Just do stuff and stay busy. And talk. Keep telling your story to people. Keep opening up. Be vulnerable. Cry. Let it out. If you're struggling, reach out to someone. Whether if you're in AA, they have the AA sponsors. If not, find a group that maybe has a different approach than AA, or just find like someone. But the thing is, by you opening up and telling your story to people, you'd be surprised how many people either went through something themselves, or they may have like I've had people say, well, my dad was an alcoholic, or my brother is one, or my, this or that, or like our old neighbors, we found out, I mean, they were like this Mormon couple, so we thought they were these innocent people, but we opened up and told them, like, I kind of told them like, hey, I don't drink or whatever, and then we got in this whole conversation. We told them about our addictions, and then they actually opened up to us, and we found out the wife had a previous I think like a pill addiction or whatever, and used to sell pills and all this stuff, and she never would have told us that if we hadn't have had opened up to her. So by us telling our story, she felt okay to then talk to us, because it's like, hey, these people are like me, they're not going to judge me. But I'll tell people, and some of them are like, okay, I can't relate to that. I don't know anyone like that, but it's still okay. Like it feels good to just talk about your story and your accomplishments. You're not showboating and like being all egotistical. Like, hey, I've been sober for 12 years. Like that's not why you're telling your story. You're just telling it. I mean, that's kind of like one of the things behind AA is you go up and you tell your story to the new people to give them hope. So there's so many ways to deal with it. Anyway, I don't know. I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time, so more people could hear about it, not just these little individual times. There's way more to my story than everything. It's just I'm already like 2 hours into this, so 2.5 hours. So I'm gonna end it here, but just if you're going through anything, get help. Get help. Like once you stop this video, like go call someone and get help. Find out whatever resources are in your area, whether there's free help, financial assistance. I don't know if there's like insurance stuff or government help. Just see what's in your area. If you're able to like travel or get more financial help and go into better facilities, do that. Remove yourself from all the negative stuff. If you're in a bad relationship, get out. Whatever it is that might be like feeding your addiction or making it worse. Just get away from that and then try to do what you can from there. Talk to people, tell people you're struggling. Some people might not care, but it just takes that one person that cares enough that might step in and do what they can to help you in some way. But again, you gotta want it. You can't keep asking people for help and have them dish out thousands of dollars to help you get help, and then you just keep screwing up because you're not serious about it. Like, you gotta be dead serious. You gotta really want it. You gotta be sick and tired of being sick and tired. Do whatever you can to get clean, and then seriously find stuff right away. Like, right away, just start doing things. Clean your house, organize, get rid of any bad memory stuff that might be laying around. Delete phone numbers, delete your dealer's numbers, delete toxic people's numbers, change your phone number so old people, like those negative people, can't get a hold of you. Get off social media for a while if you need to. Just anything that has a negative impact on you or causes you to be triggered or gives you that feeling of, oh my God, I need like a hit now or whatever. Like, anything that makes you feel those ways, get it out. I'm one of those people, I wish I was like rich beyond all means, like a Jeff Bezos or whatever. I would help so many people if I could. And if I could just like sit here all day and just talk to people and help them, I would. Unfortunately, I have to work and pay bills, but I don't know, find someone that can help you. Find someone maybe that's going through the same stuff or has been through the same stuff. If you're not the one struggling and you know someone who is, I don't know, again, like, you can only do so much, because if they're in denial, and I've seen those like intervention shows where people get mad when family tells them they have an issue and they don't want help or they don't think they need help. But just try and keep trying, don't give up. I don't know, just make phone calls, ask for advice. Again, check like what's in the local area as far as help, what options there are. Again, I think just going and detoxing it's usually not that successful for people. There needs to be more of a plan afterwards. Just be there for them, support them. Don't put too much pressure on them, but definitely be there for them. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try to check in on comments. I can't, again, like help everyone, but I'll see if anyone has any specific questions or anything, and I'll try to do what I can to help. But there is hope. Life is so good. I know it's hard, even for normal, sober people. Like, the world's crazy as shit right now. There's so many different things that are causing stress and anger and confusion and everything, but like, set all our BS government nonsense aside and all these things that are going on. That's what sucks too. Like, I'm just so sick of how divided we are as a country and how everyone just wants to get online and talk crap to each other and put each other down and be negative. And just fortunately, in my opinion, our country's kind of going to shit right now. But beyond all that stuff, for me, like, I was having fun back then. Then the fun was no longer fun. But my God, like sober life, people might laugh at it, but it's amazing. Like the things I've done in the past 12 years, I never could have done drinking. Um, and there's highly successful people out there that do drink and are alcoholics, or even just drink in controlled ways. I mean, people can do it, but I've excelled so much in my life, and I've had such clear thoughts, and I have a whole new outlook on life and respect for life and people. I know what I want. I can make smarter decisions. I'm more compassionate for people. Like I feel things, and yes, feeling things sometimes sucks, and that's why some people use because they don't want to feel. But like learning how to feel things and deal with those emotions is really healthy. Like hiding from them and numbing them with drugs is not the answer. Like it doesn't make anything go away. It's learning how to cope with them, deal with them, move past them, work with them. Because there's just some things you can't change in life, but you can manage to live with those things. You can manage to not let them affect you. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying life's easy, but my God, it's if you are an addict, it's so much easier when you're sober. um, just get sober. Um, it's it's the new cool. um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah. My life has been so good since I got clean. I've had some down times for sure, um, but it's great, and I can actually like get through stuff now. Um, so yeah, if you're struggling, go get help, and if you keep struggling, just keep trying again and again. Don't give up. I know people that have done good for a while, a year or two, and then they relapse a little bit, but they recognize it and they try to nip it in the bud as quick as they can. So yeah, there's hope. It's possible. Um, we need more people recovering. We need more healthy people. We need more mentally stable people. And getting sober can help. And we need more of us out there. So yeah, I just pray for all of you and wish you the best. And even those of you who have, who aren't struggling but know someone, I pray for you as well and them. And I hope some of you have made it all this way, and I hope this helps even one person, just one person. No, I'll be worth it. But anyway, good luck to everyone. Might not know all of you, but I love you either way, and wish you the best.